Hey there, thank you for listening to Considering the Source. So you're about to listen to the very first recorded interview that I did. Now, this was nerve-wracking because I work with my friend Justin here. And so he was kind enough to actually sit down for about an hour with me to record a little bit about his life and his background and some of the stories that he's been through. Now, as I've told you in our intro, 10-minute intro, I told you that this is going to be recorded in a live environment. So I'm telling you right now, you're going to hear some barking and you're going to hear voices maybe in the background. So again, just kind of imagine you're in a live environment. You're in a library, or you're in a coffee shop or a restaurant. There's still going to be all kind of noises as you're talking to somebody else. And try to imagine yourself sort of sitting at the table with Justin and I as we have this conversation. And I will let you know right now that Justin uses some harsh language, and he shares some of his opinions. Some of them I might agree with, some I don't. Again, that doesn't matter. I want you to try to understand and listen to the person. Now, our session lasted probably almost 90 minutes. So what I've done is I've broken that into 3 roughly 30-minute parts. So you're about to listen to part 1. This is my friend, Justin. So I'm here with Justin. So let me ask you a question. So what do you currently do? I don't need to know necessarily who you work for or anything, but what do you currently do?
I'm a trainer. I teach people stuff.
So what do you teach them?
Software.
Okay. All right. And how long have you been doing that?
This tenure, I've been doing my current role for, what year is this? This is 2015, so it'll be 3 years in a couple of weeks, actually.
All right. Do you enjoy training?
Yes and no.
Okay. Why would you say no?
I have a very short fuse at times with people.
Uh-huh.
So then I really have to put a face on when they really irritate me because they really don't know what they're doing.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What was your very first job?
I worked at McDonald's.
And where was this?
In Hawaii.
In Hawaii.
Yep.
All right, so let's come back to that, but I definitely want to hear about Hawaii. So your first job at McDonald's, you're how old?
16.
And did you get the job because you thought, I want to get a job, or did mom and dad say you need to get a job?
Mom and dad said I needed to get a job.
All right, and so do you remember filling out the application? Do you remember all that kind of stuff? Okay.
Yep. The application, I remember when I got we're hiring you. I remember sitting in the back room watching all the stupid videos that you have to watch when you work at a fast food restaurant, like safety and cleanliness and all that kind of. I remember having to shop for a wardrobe. We had to have black slacks on with a belt and black slip-proof shoes.
And they provided you the shirt and the hat or whatever?
Yes, our wonderful McDonald's shirt and visor.
You had a visor. And so what kind of stuff did you do when you worked at McDonald's?
So I worked in the morning shift. So I worked at 4:30 a.m. to lunch. So the lunch turnover was around 11 or 12 o'clock. So typically I was I initially did, since we come in early in the morning and doesn't open up till later, I did all the stocking stuff. So the big trucks would come in and drop all their food off at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and you have this small freezer room, which is probably the size of a normal sized office, we'll say. And they put this big giant pallet of food inside of there, and you have to climb inside and organize all the food inside of the freezer and stuff. So I did that for the first half of it, and then the second half of the day, I worked drive-thru. I never made any food when I worked at McDonald's. I never was in the fry station, never made burgers, I always worked up front.
And do you feel sad about that? Do you feel like there's a big void in my life because I never made a Big Mac, I never made an Egg McMuffin? So
when I worked there, I was like, damn, I want to be back there and on this assembly line and see stuff like that. My friend worked back there though, and I'm glad that I didn't.
Because
he did some sketchy things back when we worked at McDonald's. And
okay, so this is the gold. So what did he do?
So sometimes, so he worked there longer than I did. So sometimes he would help me in the back. Initially, when we first started working there, he helped me inside the freezer to put things around, stuff like that. So we had these big, giant parkas and stuff like that in there. And it's freezing cold. Like, it is, like, legitimately freezing cold. Like, 20 degrees inside there or something like that. Or less, I have no idea. But when you got inside there, like, when you got to the back, you had to, like, climb over crap to, like, really get in the back and, like, move the McChickens and the chicken nuggets and the French fry boxes and stuff like that. And it was a pain in the ass to try to get around or whatnot like that. So when we got back there, when he got back there, he didn't feel like climbing back out and doing all that stuff. So he had to pee, so he just took a leak in the corner of the freezer. When I tell the story to people, I was like, I took a leak right next to the McChicken sandwiches. I have no idea what was actually there, but he took a leak inside the freezer, and that was that.
Was there a lot of steam?
I have no idea. I was on the other side, just in disbelief. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, are you really peeing right there? Like, yeah, I gotta pee. I was like,
so what? Okay, so that's one sketchy thing. Clearly, what else was he doing stuff like on the line as he was cooking?
No,
food?
I don't know about that. I do know that we definitely might have taken some stuff from McDonald's at some point in time.
Interesting.
Yeah. Monopoly.
Yes.
So you know how different things that you can buy give you the Monopoly pieces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, I guess you can call me guilt by association because I was the one who actually did it, but my friend, same one, leaking the McChicken, took an entire box of hash brown wrappers, which all had the Monopoly pieces on it.
Yep.
So after work one time, I went to a park and we just sat there for like 30 minutes peeling off every single one of these hash browns. They probably got, like 40, 50 things of free Big Macs, free burgers, drinks, and fries and stuff like that. The only thing we ended up getting was the Baltic. I think it's Baltic and the purple, the two purple one. Yeah. You won like $60 or something like that. And I never cashed it in. I just took like food ones like that, but that was that. How
long did you work at McDonald's?
Maybe a summer and some change.
Okay.
It wasn't a long time.
Okay. So that was your first job. Mm-hmm. What job that you can think of that you've had do you hate? Did you hate the most?
So in the reality of my life, I've had 1, 2, 3, 5 jobs.
Okay.
Worst one was retail. I worked at Ross's.
What is that?
So Ross out towards the west is equal to Marshall's out over here.
Okay.
So like
a TJ Maxx kind of a
discount retail. And that was my worst job because I was like responsible for the men's department. And as you know, when you go to a place like that, people like look at something, they'll try it on, and they just kind of like throw it over the rack or whatnot like that.
Yeah.
So we had to go in there and pick up everyone's messes like that. There would be times where we had like these giant carts where we're having to, you look at the extra large section, it should be all extra large, it shouldn't be mediums and smalls and stuff. So we had to go through all the racks and pull out all the wrong ones and move them to the appropriate places. And that I just hated that. I like McDonald's more because I would just eat a whole bunch of free McDonald's food all the time. But Ross's it was so bad. And that was a job I had right before I went into the military.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to talk about that, about the military. So you're saying you worked at Ross's probably up like when you're 17 or 18, something like that.
It was actually in between the time I graduated high school and then when I went to basic training.
Okay. I definitely want to talk about that. But before we do, you mentioned working at this McDonald's in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. So is Hawaii where you were born and raised? Born and raised. Okay. How did your family get to Hawaii?
My dad is born and raised on Maui, which is one of the Hawaiian islands. My mom was born and raised in Middlefield, Ohio. So both of my parents were in the Air Force, and they had met in Nebraska when they were at a technical training or tech school for them in the military. They met there, got married. Then my dad, since they were married, my dad got stationed back in Hawaii for his specific job that he did. He was a Morse code jockey, so he just basically listened to Russia and China send Morse code back and forth and whatnot like that, and he just decoded Morse code between.
Really?
Yeah.
And now, is that something that he's still, like this day, you go, he
My
knows
dad
exactly.
can spit out Morse code in his sleep. It's actually just probably the past maybe like 3 or 4 months I downloaded a Morse code app because I wanted to try to learn Morse code. So I would text back and forth. Like I can text my dad diddy dots. So diddy dot dot dot. So diddies are like the periods, dots dot 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 or the long lines.
Yeah.
So when I can text him in Morse code, it's like dot 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 dash dash dash. Dot dot dash dash dash, and my dad can read that and he responds in Morse code dot dot dash dash dash, and I have to take that and I put it into my app to decode it to see what it actually says. So he thought I was learning it, but I mean, I didn't have the patience. Like, when my dad talked about how he learned it, he said they sat in a classroom and then he's like they would all of them sitting there and they'd be like da da dee a dee da b dee da da C, and they did that over and over until it becomes muscle memory with all that. So I was like, I don't have the time for that. It was just a quick app, but I never learned Morse code. But my dad still to this day, I mean, he retired in 95, so you're looking, this 20 years ago now, at that point, that he still knows Morse code like the back of his hand.
Okay. Now, are your mom and dad still in Hawaii?
No. So we lived in Hawaii, so I was born and raised in Hawaii, right? My dad got stationed back there. My sister was born there. My sister's 3 years older than me. And then I was born in Hawaii as well. And the moment that I was, when I was born, when I was 4 months old, we moved to England. I lived in England for 3 years with my parents, and then moved back to Hawaii. So I guess I didn't live there my entire childhood. So when I came back when I was 4 years old, and
Because your parents were stationed in England.
yeah, my dad got stationed in England. And funny story in how we actually got back to Hawaii. So my dad, again, was a Morse code jockey. And when he was stationed in England, he was a part of USAFE, United States Air Force Europe. And they had this big competition. It was basically like an Olympics for all these different types of AFSC. So AFSC is like your career field inside of the Air Force. And my dad won his division, his Morse code thing. He won that for the entire European Air Forces. So he was according to that, the best Morse code person in USAFE.
Okay.
And the reward, if you will, for that was he gets a BOP, or a base of preference. So you can basically say where I want to go. And he's like, I want to go back home to Hawaii. So they went back to Hawaii, and then that's when I went back there when I was 4 years old. And we lived there until I joined the military.
What part of England was this? Do you remember?
So I believe that we actually lived in Wales. Lake. They might have been here and there on Lakenheath Air Force Base, but I don't remember any of it. So
You don't remember anything about England?
anything about England at all? Not a thing. My parents showed me pictures of it. I'm like, nope.
Okay.
No idea.
So you get now. Well, let me ask you this question. So your mom and dad, or your dad, is from Hawaii.
Yes.
I presume then his parents were from Hawaii.
No.
Okay.
So my grandpa's actually from the Philippines.
Okay.
And so my dad is first generation American, I guess. I don't know if Philippines are part of.
Maybe at that time they probably weren't.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay. And was anyone else in the armed forces prior to your dad?
So not in that like hierarchy, like still not my grandfather like that. My dad's brother was in the Air Force for maybe a few years, and that's it.
What do you think led your dad to go into the Air Force?
He wanted to travel.
Okay.
I mean, people think about it, and I guess it's a weird thought, but people think, in Hawaii, it's kind of, you got island fever. Not that my dad had island fever, but, my dad was smart. He was an intelligent person. Mm-hmm. So he wanted to do more than, you see people in Hawaii, they kind of just get in ruts and just live with their parents or friends like that, and kind of just live off the land type of thing, go to the beach all day, think of beach bum type of mentality. Where my dad wanted to do more, he wanted to go to school, all kind of fun stuff like that. And the military, the Air Force was the stepping stone to all that, I guess you could say.
Okay. So your mom, meanwhile, is living in Ohio, and she decides now. Is your mother Hawaiian?
My mom is white as white can be.
As white can be. Okay.
So she's like German and all that, Irish and blah blah blah, mixed white Caucasian.
Okay. All right. What made her decide she wanted to go in the Air Force?
No idea.
Okay.
I actually never asked my mom why she joined the Air Force.
All right.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah. Before our next session, I'd like you to look into that for me.
Okay.
All right. So you're born in Hawaii. You move for a little bit. You go to England, come back, and then pretty much the rest until you go into the service as well. You're there in Hawaii. So tell me about like growing up. Like how was the home life there? Was it strict? Was it very liberal? Was it what was it like growing up there?
Like environment as in the islands or like in my household?
In your household.
So because both of my parents were military, we were very much straight arrow. You know what I mean? I wasn't strict to the point where I was like, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, type of things. But one thing that my parents did not tolerate was disrespect.
Okay.
In any way, shape, or form.
Can you think of a time where you actually saw your father or mother react to disrespect?
Yeah. I mean, an easy example, when my mom calls me, Justin, and I respond to her with, what? She'd be like, excuse me? Because that's not a respectful response to your mom. That's a response you'd give to your friend. Justin, what? So that's a very easy example of just the small things where they're like not going to happen. But an example of
Did you and your dad ever butt heads? Were you ever just straight disrespectful and then you suffered the wrath or?
So I'm gonna tell you, I honestly cannot remember, and I think the reason why is because they ingrained that at a very young age. So I probably got lickings early on in my life, so where I thought that if I badmouth my dad's gonna smack me in the head. I don't want to get smacked in the head, therefore I will not badmouth my dad. It was more when I disrespected others. I never up front disrespected my parents because I knew I was gonna be my ass kicked.
Okay.
It was when it's not subconsciously or kind of like a side effect of disrespecting someone else that they witnessed me disrespecting someone else, then that's where more so that I saw than actual disrespecting my parents themselves.
Okay. So would you consider yourself a pretty average kid when you were growing up, or
in what capacity?
Did you get along with your mom and dad? Were you a good student? Were you a rebel? Did you have a bad attitude?
The term that I probably heard more than anything growing up was wasted talent.
And you heard that from who?
My mom or my dad, more so than anyone. So obviously, my dad always saw great potential in me. And I was extremely athletic growing up. I played baseball when I was 4 years old all the way through high school. I was always playing sports. I was smart at sports. I was good at sports. I made all-star teams all the time, all that type of stuff like that. I was just an intelligent athlete. I just wasn't intelligent outside of that. Not that I wasn't smart, but I hated school. I went to school to play sports. That's my whole idea. I did what I needed to do to get by, to do that. So I didn't get good grades in high school because I didn't want to do any work.
Okay.
But I wasn't stupid. That's the problem. I'm one of those that I don't need to do homework, but I can go in and I can get like an A or B on the test. So unfortunately, a lot of classes require you to do homework, and it takes a toll if you don't do the homework. So I got bad grades because I just didn't do any homework.
And so was it in that respect that you would hear wasted talent?
That, and my dad just thought that I didn't give it my all. And I think the reason why he says that, though, is because of his military experience. Like with what I know now from when I was in the military, like what going through basic training and all this stuff like that, what that taught me, if I knew 10% of that when I was back in high school, I'd have been 80 times 80 times better at everything that I did. If I just had like that thought in my mind. That's, I think my dad, when he talked about wasted talent, was that he knew that if I were to, let's say, unlock that level before going into the military, that I could have played baseball at any school I wanted to. I could have gone and played college football if I wanted to, but I always held back, and he always saw that.
Why do you think that is? Like within yourself?
I was scared. Scared. I see when I played football, some of our offensive linemen, 6'5", 285 pounds. They're beasts. And at that time, I might have been 5'10", 5'11", maybe like $175, maybe $180. So I was scared at something like that. And obviously, is when I did do the military and stuff like that, all those types of mental weaknesses is what I'm going to call them, all go to the wayside. And if I could have put that to the wayside back then, I would have been 10 times better player in every sport that I played because of it. Okay. But I held back because I was scared.
All right, well, let's move forward then. So you're 17 or 18 years old, your senior year in high school, I'm presuming. You finish. At that point in time, are you at all thinking about college, or at some point in time had you already decided, I'm going to follow in my dad's footsteps and go into the armed service?
So I had a girlfriend, high school love. And it was, we wanted to obviously stay together type of thing. And there were two choices that were really in front of me. It was one, you go to college, or two, you join the military. Those are the two options that my parents gave me. They said, if you want to go to school, we'll pay for your school. But if you're not going to go to school, you're going to join the military. You can choose. So I only applied to one school, and it was the one school that my friends applied to and that my sister was actually currently enrolled at. Okay. And that was University of Nevada, Reno, so UNR. Okay. Well, I didn't get in. Okay. Because my grades were so bad. I mean, I scored well on my SAT, my ACTs, but I didn't score well enough to pull it up for my I think I graduated, my GPA was maybe like a 2.4, so like a C. And I think their minimum was a 3.0 actually to get in, and so I didn't have enough to get inside of there. So naturally, it came to, well, I'm going to join the military. Okay. And the reason why also along with that was I was like, I want to marry my girlfriend. Yeah. So this is a way for us to have a life, quote unquote life, if she were to marry me and I was in the military.
Expand on that. Like, why do you say that?
Well, I needed to be able to take care of her. So we wanted to stay together. If I went to school, the thought was, if I went to school, I'm going to have to get an apartment off campus because she can't sleep in my dorm with my roommates like that. So I'd have to get a job. So I'd be a full-time student and a full-time worker because I have to support not just myself but her. And those are all things that just didn't equate up. So natural choice for me was military because my parents were both prior Air Force and they were kind of pushing me in that direction to begin with. Okay. And so you felt like if I go this way, was your view towards supporting your wife because of the housing that they provided, or it was just stable, or it was going to be quick? Well, everything. I mean, the military gives you everything that you need to live. So a roof over your head and money to buy food. Okay. And free health insurance. Okay. So you decide then, you tell mom and dad, I'm going to go in the Air Force. You tell the girlfriend. No. What's the no? So my mom and dad, because this was like when I was still looking to try to go to college and maybe work that out, they started bugging me about, you need to make a choice, what you can do, and they just pissed me off. Okay. So my parents, both Air Force, so naturally what I did was I went over to the Army recruiter over there and took all of my ASVABs, my military aptitude tests and stuff like that there. And if I was 18, I would have signed up for the Army and I would never have been in the Air Force. This recruiter was an amazing recruiter. He sold me. He fed me a whole bunch of crap, whether it was crap or not. He sold me, and I was bought.
Like what?
I wanted to be a Army Ranger. I wanted to jump out of planes. I said, I want to be a sniper. This is exactly what I told him. In high school, I was like, I want to be a sniper. He's like, I can get you into sniper school.
And is he saying this just to blow smoke, or you think he's...
So knowing about the military, he could definitely have gotten me on the track.
Yeah.
He couldn't have gotten me into sniper school, because you don't just go in the military and go sniper. You actually go in the military for a specific job first. Then you can say, okay, I want to move into this sniper role like that. So he could have kind of put me on the road, but he never could have gotten me in there.
Yeah.
And not to mention, he also offered me, it was a $25,000 signing bonus. So that was another big thing.
And you're how old at this point in time?
17.
You're a 17-year-old.
Yep.
And he's telling you sign, we're going to write you a check for $25,000.
Yep.
That you'll get at some point in time in the future, or we're going to give it to you in the next month or two?
How it works is you get half of it up front, and the other half gets divvied throughout your paycheck through the duration of your enlistment.
Oh, okay.
So if you sign up for 4 years, I would have gotten $12,500 up front, and the $12,500 would have been given to me across 4-year span in my paycheck.
Okay. So he pretty much sells you, but at this point in time, you aren't able to sign. You're not legal age yet.
Because you're underage.
Okay. And so... So he tells you this stuff. You can't sign. You go home. Do you still tell mom and dad?
So I go home and I tell mom and dad, like, I want to join the Army. And my first thing out of my mom's mouth is no. And I'm like, you have to talk to Sergeant whatever. I don't remember what his name was. He's a really nice guy. I already have my plan, what I'm going to go into, what theirs is called MOS, whatever that stands for, but their military job. I was like, I'm going to get $25,000 signing bonus. I'm going to be a sniper. I'm going to be a ranger. Blah 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 blah. And I told him, just hear him out. So she was like, okay, I'll hear him out. So he came over to our house to meet my parents one evening. He came in, sat down, talked to my parents about the opportunity, all that kind of fun stuff like that, and they respectfully listened to everything they said. Thank you very much for coming over, and he left. The very, very, very next day, we went back to the recruiter office. So back in Hawaii, all the recruiter offices were in one spot. Okay. It's in a plaza, and all of them have conjoining offices. We go back there, and I enlisted in the Air Force the very next day.
Why?
Well, first off, my parents were like, no, you will not join the Army.
And why? Did they give a reason for that?
They didn't. So I'm not going to call it a misconception, if you will, but if you were to really think, if people were to stereotype the military, you think of Marines, bullet sponges, and jarheads. That's what people's perception is.
What do you mean sponges?
Meaning you just send people in there, just going to absorb the bullets as they go in. They're war junkies. That's the perception that people have, right? Army people are ground pounders. I don't know what that term really was derived from. They call them ground pounders. And Air Force, everyone always, at least when I was growing up, what perceived Air Force that's where the smart, like the intellectual people went. Not to say that there aren't smart people that go into the Army, the Navy, or the Marines, but the reason why is the jobs that you can get in the Air Force require higher scores on your testing. Okay. Whereas jobs in the Army and the Marines, you don't need to score high in anything. In fact, on a scale of 1 to 100 for the grading thing, you had to only be above like a 35 to be able to like join the Army and do their stuff. Whereas a lot of the jobs that I was going for, or that I was looking at when I was when I was going to the Air Force, you needed scores of 80 and higher. So you need higher scores to be able to get in and do different things in the Air Force than you would need in the Army or the Marines. Okay.
So your reasoning then that your parents are giving you to say no to the Army and yes to the Air Force are?
You're smarter than the Army.
Okay.
And you're not going to have to go to war if you go in the Air Force.
Of those two reasons, which do you think is the biggest one for your mom and dad?
Difficult question. I honestly would gear towards that I'm smarter than being in the Army. And the reason why I don't say that you're not going to go to war thing is because later on down the road, when I actually did go over there, they were, super worried that their kid is out and stuff like that. But my parents were both in the military, so they know. It's not like it's a new concept for them or anything like that. You know, my dad has deployed places, or my mom has been overseas and stuff like that. So it's not like it's not foreign to them. Okay. They just worry that as their child. But I think that it was really that they just thought that I would succeed more in life had I gone in the Air Force. And the reason why is that I probably could learn a skill in the Air Force that I could use outside more so than if I went to the Army. Okay. If you go in the Army, you're a ranger. What am I going to do? I'm going to do what are they called? Black Ops.
Black Ops?
No, what is it called?
SEALs?
No, the civilian contractors. You know, talking about the ones that go overseas and did all the sketch. Blackwater.
The Bourne Identity?
Blackwater. Isn't that called Blackwater?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, those sketchy civilians that go over and like guard and are mercenaries.
Okay.
You know, those are like the type of skill sets that my parents were comparing to.
All right. So you're 17 at this time. Are you able to sign up at 17 with like your parents' consent or something?
Your mom or dad or your guardian has to co-sign or give parental consent to allow you to. And when you do it, it's called delay enlistment. Because I actually delay enlisted in March of 2012. Or 2002, I'm sorry. March 2002, I delay enlist. My actual date that I shipped out to go to basic was in October. So I was in this delay enlistment program for 7 months before I actually went to basic training. Okay.
So how did they convince you at 17 to change your mind? Or did you just respect your parents' opinion enough that
they said, no, you're doing this. And I was like, okay.
Goodbye $25,000 signing bonus. Goodbye sniper school. I'm just going to do what they're saying. At this point in time, do you regret that decision? I hope you don't hate me, but we're going to stop right there. Now, if you're interested in hearing more of Justin's story, and I think that it's worth listening to, I really do want to encourage you to go ahead and listen to part 2 of my interview with Justin. I think you're going to really enjoy that. So thanks again for listening today. Please tell a friend or check us out at www.consideringthesource.com. We'll see you next time.